Nedarim Daf Nun Aleph continues the discussion of the relationship between Rebbe and Bar Kapara with some Agadata about their interactions and about what happened at the wedding that Rebbe made for his son. The Gemara will then quote a few Mishnayos, which will continue the topic of the parak primarily, which is when certain words are used to create a neder, what do they mean and what do they include? What is the lashon b'nei adam, the generally spoken terms? The topic will also include the significance of the letter hey when you say the before you refer to something, what that does to the neder. So let's begin with the last three lines in Daf Nun. The Gemara is discussing the relationship between Rebbe Nasi, and Bar Kapara. We're trying to explain that Rebbe carried upon his shoulders the weight of the entire tzibur. He was the Nasi, and he took it upon himself to be very serious and to be in a very heavy-hearted mood as a kapara for Klal Yisrael and to bear the responsibility for the Klal. And therefore, if it ever happened that he laughed, it would bring tragedy to the world. Bar Kapara, on the other hand, was known for his sense of humor, and Rebbe warned him, don't make me laugh because that'll bring tragedy to the world. At some point, Rebbe said to Bar Kapara, if you don't make me laugh, if you resist from making me laugh, then I will give you 40 measures of grain. So Bar Kapara said, okay, but I get to choose what size measures. So he went and he took a basket and he covered the inside with tar. So the basket was a huge measure. You don't measure with a basket, you measure with a measuring cup. And he covered it with tar so that not a single grain of wheat would fall out. Then he turned it upside down and he put it on his head. And he approached Rebbe and said, okay, fill me up. This is the measure that I want to use. So Rebbe laughed at that. And he had said, didn't I warn you? Don't make me laugh. So he said, all I want to do is collect what you owe me. You promised me that I'm going to get 40 measures of grains. I came to collect my grain. Now, the Gemara continues with a different story. The Gemara says that Bar Kapara was, as we saw on the daf yesterday, was not invited to the wedding of Rebbe's son, Rebbe Shimon. This conversation takes place around that wedding. So the implication here is that he was invited. We saw at the end of the Gemara yesterday that he was invited at some point. So it's not clear if this is before or after. But anyway, Bar Kapara said to the daughter of Rebbe tomorrow, which he said is the day before the wedding, he said, tomorrow I'm going to drink cups of wine poured by your mother. I'm going to drink cups of wine based on the dancing of your father, meaning the dancing of Rebbe, and based on the pouring skills of your mother. What was the story? So Rebbe had a son-in-law named Ben Elasa, and he came to Rebbe's son's wedding. He was very wealthy. And Bar Kapara was also there. Not clear if he was again invited or he came uninvited. And he said to Rebbe, what is the meaning of the term To'eva? When the Torah discusses Mishkav Zachar, it identifies it as being To'eva. What is the meaning of the word To'eva? So Rebbe offered a number of explanations and Bar Kapara proved that they were all wrong. So Rebbe said, okay, you tell me. So he said, first, in order for you to merit that I should tell you, bring your wife and let her pour me a cup of wine. So she came and she poured. And then he said, okay, now what's the pshat? So he said, no, first you have to do a dance for me. So Rebbe was so desirous of hearing the pshat, so he did the dance. So he said, okay, I'll tell you what it means. To'eva means toya ata va. You are leaving the way of normalcy with this. You are straying from the path with this. Now, Bar Kapara wanted another cup of wine, so how to get that? So he said, what is the meaning of tevel? When the Torah describes the isser of bestiality, it calls it tevel. What does that mean? So again, Rebbe offered him a number of explanations. He rejected them all. They said, okay, you tell me what it means. So he said, pour me again like you did before. Do the dance for me again like you did before. And he said, what's the pshat? The pshat in the tevel is that this, it's a question. Is this tavlin? Is there flavor to this? Why does the woman who engages in this behavior prefer this type of bia of an animal over any other type of bia? Is there no pleasure left in the normal bia for her any longer? Now, Bar Kapara wasn't done, and then he said, what is the meaning of the term zimahi when the Torah describes the isser of kidesha, the isser for a woman to be a hefker, to be free to physical use by others? So it refers to it as zima. What does that mean? So the same exchange happened. He tried explanations, he rejected them. You tell me, pour the wine, do the dance. Finally, says the pshat is that it's a contraction of the terms zumahi, Zimahi will be Zumahi, meaning we're saying what is the parentage of this child that is born from this union. Since this woman was with so many men, it's impossible to know who the true father is. Now, Ben also saw this entire exchange. That's Rebbe's son-in-law. He was not happy about it because Rebbe was being mistreated as he felt by Bar Kapara. So him and his wife got up and he left the wedding. Now the Gemara wants to know who is this Ben Elasa. So the Gemara brings a brisa that says that he spent tons of money to learn how to take a particular haircut. What was that haircut? That was the haircut of the Kohen Gadol. Like the pasuk says, "V'roshim lo yigalechu v'fer lo yishalechu kasum yichsemu es rosheim." What's kasum yichsemu? So kasum yichsemu is a special haircut which the brisa calls lulinis, like Lilith. So what's lulinis? What is that haircut? So Rabbi Yehuda says it was a special haircut. Rav explains that one hair grew to the root of the next hair. And that's how it lay, and that was the haircut that he got, and that was a special haircut for the Kohen Gadol. Alright, that ends the Agadah. The Gemara now refers back to the Mishnah, where we had mentioned a dalas remutza pumpkin or squash. So Gemara says, what is that? Shmuel says it's a squash from Karkuza. Rav Ashi says it's not a particular breed of squash, it's a way of preparing squash. You take it and you put it in hot coals, and that's how you grill it, or however that affects it. That's the preparation. That's what makes it das remutza. The term for remetz is coals. Coals is remetz, and this is called remutza. It's like cold up squash. So you want to ask the kasha, Ravina asked Rav Ashi, how could you say that it's not a particular breed or min of squash? It's got to be, because Rav Nechemia said dalas aramis, Aramean dalas is the same as Mitzri dalas, and both of them are kelayim. They're considered to be different species. So it's a problem of kelayim if they are bred together with Greek kilas and kilas haramutza. So you see that kilas haramutza is not a type of preparation, it's a type of species. So that's a good kasha. The Gemara accepts that and doesn't answer it. Right, now the Gemara quotes from the Mishnah earlier. It's called a new Mishnah here in this Gemara, but it's actually a quote of the Mishnah earlier. And that talked about if somebody's trying to make a neder against cooked things, and he uses one of two terms. He calls it either Maisa Kedera or Hayoyrid Lekdera. The Maisa Kedera is something which is a particular type of food. It's like a porridge, oatmeal, very heavily cooked type of grain. So it's the only thing that's also if he says Maisa Kedera. However, Yair Kedera means anything that goes into the pot. So that means anything that's made in a pot. So now the Gemara begins with the Brisa. So the Gemara says that somebody who makes a neder against Hayorid, Hayorid Kedera, something which goes into the pot, that refers to something which is in the pot at any part of its cooking procedure. Now there was a type of food, many foods, which were first cooked a little bit and then fried. So that's included. However, not everything that's fried was first cooked. So those things are not included because they never went to the pot, they just went into a frying pan. However, if somebody says hanasa b'ktera, that means that it's made with a pot. That refers to being finished in the pot. That's not something that just goes in the pot. Something which is made in the pot, that refers to how it's ended off. So therefore, it has to end off in the pot. If it first is made in the pot and then in a frying pan, it does not count as maisa kedera, as nasa b'ktera. And if he makes an isra nasa be'ilfis, something which is made in the frying pan, that would not count as something which was first made in the frying pan and then in the pot, or something which was made just in the pot. Something which is made in the pot and finished in the frying pan, that would count. Now, the Gemara has a similar exchange about an oven. So, yoyud latana is something which goes into the oven. That refers to bread. It refers to the thing that goes into the oven is bread. If he says maisataner, something which is made in the oven, that refers to anything which is put in the oven, not just bread specifically. Right, now we bring another Mishnah which talks about the difference between if you identify something with a hey hayidiyah, with the definite article, calling it ha first. So the Mishnah says that if you refer to something as ha, as the thing, then it's referring to the type of food which is most often prepared in that manner. So the Mishnah, we have two Mishnayos. They speak about hakavosh as opposed to kavosh. That's the pickled as opposed to pickled. So the pickled is vegetables only. Pickled includes anything that you pickle, could be meat, fish, whatever it is. Now, shalok, that's undercooked according to most Rishonim. So ha-shalok refers to meat, which is often prepared that way. Shalok, and over here the Mishnah, like before, says shalok sha'ani time, but the phrase sha'ani time doesn't change how you define the word. So shalok without the hay, that refers to anything which is cooked or prepared in that manner. Now, the Mishnah continues and talks about hatzli, the roasted, so that refers to meat. Tzli without the hay refers to anything that's roasted. Hamaliach, the salted, that refers to fish. Anything else is included in maliach without hamaliach, if it just says meluchim. Now, the Gemara asks what happens if he didn't say ha, but he said di kavish, di shalak, ditzli, dimiliach, that which is pickled, undercooked, roasted, or salted. So the Gemara says that question stands. We don't have an answer to that. All right, now the Gemara talks about fish, and he wants to make a neder against fish, and he uses a singular or plural form. So if he says either one, if he says the two of them, if he says he makes a neder against dug and dugim, that refers to all types of fish, large, small, salted, not salted, raw, and cooked. Now, it does not, however, refer to taurus. Taurus trufa, that's a piece of, those are fish that were often chopped into pieces and sold that way. Those don't count as fish. They count as pieces of fish. Also doesn't refer to fish brine, fish sauce, or anything like that. Now, if he talks about tzachana, so tzachana refers to small fish that are often cut, so that includes taurus trufa, that's chopped fish. However, it does not include brine and fish juice. If somebody, however, says that he's going to aser taurus trufa, so that does include brine and fish juice. That means chopped fish, which includes brine and fish juice as well. Now, the Gemara quotes a brisa that discusses the difference between the word dug and the word daga. So the brisa brings the opinion of Shimon ben Elazar, who says that dug refers to large fish, daga refers to small fish. So if he uses any of those two words, dug is only the big fish that is usher, and daga is only the small fish. If he says both, dug, daga, then they're both usher. Now, if Papa Sakashta Abai Hakdabi in Sefer Yonah, it says that Yonah was swallowed by the dug and then spat out by the daga. So obviously, the same fish can be called both a dug and a daga. You can't tell me one word means big and one word means small. It has to be interchangeable. So Gemara says, well, no, maybe he was swallowed by the dug, then he was spat out and swallowed by the daga, which is relatively smaller, and therefore it's called a small fish. And then he was spat out by that, and that's what the Navi is telling us. It was spat out by the daga. How do you know that that's not the pshat? So Gemara says, okay, that could be. But in Makas Dam in Mitzrayim, it says Hadaga Asher Bayor Mesa, and use the word daga. You mean to say that only the small fish died, not the big fish? That's logical. That is not logical. So therefore, it's got to be that the word dug and a daga are interchangeable. Can't be grass from sukkim anyway. The answer is that in Nedarim we use people's words. We don't use the technical meaning of the word, and people use the word dug for big fish and daga for small fish. Now, the Gemara refers to where it said tzachana. In the Mishnah, the Gemara says Ravina has Ravashi. Somebody says tzichin. What does that mean? Ron explains that that's a question of smell, things that smell bad. The Gemara answers Tiboy. That question stands. We do not have a response for that